Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Pauline Berzosa. Kingdom of Jesus Christ leader Pastor Apollo Quiboloy and his co-accused will stay in the Philippine National Police Custodial Center. The Quezon City Regional Trial Court Branch 106 issued an order to transfer Quiboloy to the new Quezon City Jail. However, an order from the Pasig City Court directed the PNP to retain Quiboloy's custody. PNP spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo said the Quezon City Court's order might allow Quiboloy to post bail.
Yung kaso po nila sa Pasig po ay non-bailable po. So we don't want to run the risk na ilipat po sila doon po sa QC po tapos mag-bail po sila at wala na pong control po doon yung PNP. We just have to really harmonize po itong mga court orders po na ito.
OVP budget sponsor Congressman Zia Adiong weighs in on House deliberations on the matter. Here's an excerpt from his interview on The Big Story.
After that first budget deliberation, you said that it's going to be difficult to defend the OVP's budget because of the way that the question and answer portion happened, right? We all know what happened there. Now that the second hearing, so this is already the deferral, right? And it had been deferred, right? But this deferral, right, she didn't show up. Would that make it even harder or a little bit easier, perhaps? What are your thoughts on that?
It makes it even harder and difficult for me to sponsor the budget simply because of her non-attendance. I'm still optimistic that she would appear in the continuation of the pre-budget briefing, which was today, earlier this morning. But unfortunately, some of the questions that, I think those questions were valid in the first place because they're mostly about the proposed 2025 programs that were indicated in the proposal of the Office of the Vice President. So it would have been a lot easier if from the agency itself, in this case the Office of the Vice President, would have supplied the necessary inputs and answers that I needed for me to be able to carry this through once it reaches the plenary. But but it happened. There was no show, and so it made a lot difficult for me because you cannot sponsor something which you basically do not know.
Do you get the sense, Kong?
Compared to other agencies, where the sponsor actually, apart from the pre-briefing deliberation, as what you have just seen, during the course of these budget processes, the sponsor normally requests for a separate pre-briefing between the sponsor and the agency. There are a lot of agencies that I handle, not only the Office of the Vice President, but there are also a lot, not really a lot, but a sizable number of agencies which I either co-sponsor or as main sponsor. And like, for example, in the case of COMELEC, I went to their office and we were given the time by the COMELEC to be briefed, separately from the committee. But this briefing with COMELEC was entirely for the sponsors. I happened to be a co-sponsor of that. So I was also hoping the same arrangement with the
Congressman
Office of the Vice
Zia?
President.
In other news, the Health Department assured the government that the Mpox situation in the country has been contained. They also maintained their stance of not implementing a lockdown to prevent the spread of the disease. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho with that report.
Plans to contain and suppress the monkeypox disease, also known as the Mpox, were discussed yesterday during a joint meeting of the Senate Committees on Health and Demography and the Committee on Finance. Department of Health spokesperson and Assistant Secretary Albert Domingo provided updates to the public on the progress of government plans regarding Mpox. The spokesperson assured the public that there is no need to worry since the situation is contained. It was 2022 when the Philippines had its first case of the disease.
Ang kumalat po niyan at nakikita natin na kumakalat pa rin sa Pilipinas ay yung mild form na clade 2.
As of September 9 this year, a total of 14 cases were now identified. Alarmed by the possible spread of the new virus strain clade 1b, the WHO declared a public health emergency of international concern last August 18. This urged the Department of Health to speed up Mpox testing.
Kung dati, 2 taon, siyam lang yung nakita natin. Ngayon, 2 linggo or 3 linggo, 14 kaagad yung nakita. Dapat ho ba matakot? Hindi po. Kasi ibig sabihin, mabilis nating nakikita ang mga kaso para maalagaan sila.
All 14 identified Mpox cases are still active on home isolation.
Lahat po sila nasa bahay nagpapagaling. Hindi ho natin re-require ang pagka-ospital sa Mpox. Hindi sila nalalagutan ng hininga, hindi sila kailangan ng ICU, hindi sila pinag-face shield, hindi sila nire-require ng face mask. Basta ho naka-home isolation sa bahay. Next.
Assistant Secretary Domingo also discussed the actions taken by the department. This includes the Mpox Task Force headed by the Secretary of Health to lead the overall national response for the disease. He also reminded the public regarding lockdown measures.
Hindi ho nangangahulugan na pag marinig natin ang katagang PDITR, ay iisipin natin magla-lockdown na tayo. Para nagpa-flashback sa atin yung 2020, hindi po mangyayari yon sa nangyayari ngayon sa Mpox dahil iba, nakikita natin sa balat ang sintomas, hindi siya kumakalat sa hangin.
Several guidelines and issued policies as well as the National Action Plan were mentioned. In the National Action Plan, possible scenarios were discussed should the Mpox situation be not contained and the strategies to combat these. Mobile Journal Denise Valdesancho. We are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after this break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Let's now take a quick look at today's other headlines. In the Philippine Star, President Bongbong Marcos has placed the National Irrigation Administration back in the office of the president. Prior to that, the NIA was under the Agriculture Department. The reorganization is for closer management to boost agricultural production and ensure food security. And in business world, Philippine foreign direct investment net inflows sank to an over 4-year low in June. The inflows fell by 29% to $394 million from $555 million a year ago. June's net inflow was the lowest level since the $314 million recorded back in April 2020. And now for the latest on the weather, Pag-asa is currently monitoring a tropical storm outside the Philippine area of responsibility. Tropical storm Bebinca was last spotted 2,070 kilometers east of eastern Visayas. It is moving west-northwest at 25 kilometers per hour with a maximum wind of 75 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 90 kilometers per hour. If it enters PAR, the tropical storm will be renamed as Ferdy. Pag-asa said Bebinca is less likely to make a landfall in the Philippines. However, it can enhance a southwest monsoon or hanging habagat. Pag-asa said residents in eastern part of the country should expect cloudy weather today. Now, PHIVOX has been observing increased seismic activity at Canlaon volcano. The agency recorded a total of 25 volcanic tectonic earthquakes on Tuesday. PHIVOX says entry into the 4-kilometer radius zone should be avoided. It added that ash and ballistic fragments are dangerous for planes. Canlaon volcano remains in alert level 2, but further activity may lead to eruptive unrest. Alas Pilipinas paid a courtesy call to MVP Group of Companies Chairman Manny V. Pangilinan. The men's national volleyball team visited MVP at the PLDT headquarters on Tuesday. This comes ahead of their participation in the 2025 FIVB Volleyball Men's World Championship. On Monday, both men and women players were honored by the Senate for their international feats. A Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris and Republican nominee Donald Trump will face off in a televised debate for the first time today. The two have been preparing for their first and possibly last televised debate. Harris is still trying to win over voters after it was announced that she will replace President Joe Biden in the 2024 elections. Meanwhile, Trump is expected to double down on issues like migration and economy. Catch One News's special coverage of the Harris and Trump debate later at 9 a.m. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 9 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Pauline Verzosa. We are One News.